is no Negro problem. There is no Southern problem. There is no Northern problem. There is only an American problem. This was a quote said by President Lyndon B. Johnson during his We Shall Overcome speech. This speech was given in front of Congress on March 15, 1965, in support of his Voting Rights Act bill. I chose this speech in light of the midterm elections that just passed a few weeks ago. As an African American, I feel like I should thank President Johnson for the speech he gave that night because he helped pave the way. At the time when he had given this speech, the 15th Amendment had been passed. This allowed all people of all races the right to vote. But many of African Americans found that right stripped away from them. They were denied registration. When they went to register, they were asked questions such as, how many bubbles are on a bar of soap, knowing it could never be answered. But this soon all changed because of one speech given by a courageous and emotional man who changed the lives of African Americans around the world. Just a week prior to President Johnson giving his speech, 600 protesters rallied together to march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama to register to vote. That day is now labeled Bloody Sunday. Those 600 protesters were stopped by police and asked to turn around. When they refused, officers beat them and shot tear gas at them, and one man was even killed. President Johnson made sure to mention this horrific event to gain the sympathy of Americans around the world. At the time, some people felt that Johnson had not done enough to protect their rights. They even say on the day he gave that speech, as he approached Capitol Hill, he had passed protesters that sang, "We shall overcome." President Johnson proved that night that he was there for the people by saying, it's not just Negroes, but it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. He then took a pause and said, and we shall overcome. This particular line showed people around the world, civil rights activists, and Congress that he had heard the outcries of poors and blacks. Johnson had used phrases such as this to persuade Congress that his Voting Rights Act must be passed. The tone that he used during his speech was both appropriate, effective, and strategical. When he talked about Bloody Sunday, his tone he used was deeper and softer. I think this helped express the emotion and helped him show sympathy for those who had been affected by the events that had happened that day. I also noticed that he used words such as no and is and emphasized them throughout the whole entire speech to help get his point across. That night, he addressed his audience as a citizen, not as a president. He included recent events that he knew would touch their hearts and appeal to the common person. He also showed that he was not only concerned about the legislative issues, but the ethical issues. He started off with a strong introduction by saying that he spoke for the destiny of democracy. And he closed by using a religious quote, saying, God will not favor everything that we do. It is rather our duty to divine his will. I believe that he truly understands and he favors the undertaking that we begin here tonight. President Johnson's speech was great and powerful. You could tell by the multiple standing ovations that was given during his speech. I feel like this speech had helped America overcome that obstacle.